chase there. That person was taken into custody. According to witnesses here, they don't think that person was targeted. It was just a random shooting. And here's what one witness said happened.
And what
Key Glock just told Yo Gotti he's not welcome in Memphis anymore. And Yo Gotti, the same man who built a $100 million empire off that city, the same man whose label CMG helped push Memphis onto the mainstream map, just got publicly checked by his biggest rivals per day. And you need to hear this, because what Key Glock did wasn't some quiet subliminal or a slick line buried in a random track. Nah, he made it crystal clear out in the open that as far as paper route is concerned, Yo Gotti's name doesn't hit the same in those Memphis streets anymore. And when Gotti caught wind of it, let's just say that reaction spoke volumes, because this isn't just two rappers talking wild online. This is about who really runs Memphis. This is about a war that started over a record deal back in 2014. A war that led to bodies in the streets, people doing life behind bars, and tension that still hasn't cooled off, not even close. And here's the wildest part: Gotti's own artists are starting to step back from the beef. His own camp, it's showing cracks. The man who had Memphis on lock for over a decade is now watching that grip slowly loosen in real time in Key Glock. So he's the one pulling it away piece by piece. So yeah, let's break this all the way down from the beginning, because the story behind this moment goes way deeper than most people realize. We're talking murder. We're talking $100 zero bounties. We're talking courtroom testimony that exposed things nobody was supposed to know. And we're talking about one rapper finally stepping up and saying enough is enough. This city is ours now. Alright, so to understand why Key Glock telling Yo Gotti he can't come back to Memphis hits so different, we gotta rewind, and I mean all the way back. See, Memphis ain't like other cities when it comes to hip-hop out there. The rap game and the street life have been tied together since the 3-6 Mafia days in the 90s. Loyalty isn't optional. It's everything. You're either with someone or you're against them. No middle ground, and that's exactly why everything changed when Dolph turned down Yo Gotti's record deal in 2014. Here's the context. Gotti had been running the Memphis rap scene for years. He had CMG, originally Cocaine Music Group, before 50 Cent told him to switch it up, because the name might scare corporate America. He had the industry ties, the Interscope partnership, the full machine behind him. So when Young Dolph started buzzing with mixtapes like high-class street music, Gotti wanted him bad. He wanted Dolph on that roster, but Dolph said no. And that's what people need to understand about Dolph. He was independent to the core. He wasn't giving up Gotti core. He wasn't giving up ownership of his music, his brand, or his paper route empire for anyone, not even the biggest name in his own city. Instead, Dolph partnered with Empire Distribution and built Paper Route into a fully independent, self-sustained label. He was proving you could win out of Memphis without bowing to a gatekeeper, and in a city where Gotti had positioned himself as exactly that, a gatekeeper. That move was huge, revolutionary even, but also dangerous. Because in Memphis, turning down a powerful figure isn't always just business. Sometimes it gets taken as disrespect, and that's exactly how things played out. You gotta remember, Gotti wasn't just a rapper. Forbes had his net worth sitting around $100 million. CMG was stacked money bag, yo. Black Youngsta 42, Doug, Ace-T, and later Glow, Rella, and Big Boogie. This was a full-blown empire. So when Dolph not only said no, but then started competing on the charts, that wasn't just disrespect, that was a direct threat. For a while, things stayed low-key, a few subliminals here, a little tension there, nothing too crazy. Then, February 2016 hit. Dolph jumped on Twitter calling out an unnamed person he said was hating after trying to sign him. Everybody knew who he meant. But then he took it further. A week later, he announced his debut album title, King of Memphis. Now, if you know Yo Gotti, you know that title meant everything. He'd been calling himself that for years, and Dolph just took it and stamped it on his own project. The streets went crazy. That's when Black Youngsta stepped in, and this is where things started getting real serious. Youngsta, signed to CMG, started going at Dolph on Instagram, talking reckless, even hinting at violence. He pulled up to Dolph's neighborhoods in South Memphis, filming videos like he was ready for whatever, walking through Castelia's, Dolph's hood camera rolling like it was a music video. Dolph, he didn't even blink, just dropped a laughing emoji and a thumbs down and kept it moving. But to everyone else, this wasn't funny, because when someone from a rival camp pulls up to your neighborhood making threats on camera, that's not entertainment, that's escalation. And it didn't stop there. Youngsta dropped a diss track, Shake Some, directly targeting Dolph. The lyrics were aggressive, talking about extended clips, 100 rounds, even questioning Dolph's claim to Memphis. And he was doing it wearing a CMG chain. Gotti tried to distance himself publicly, saying he didn't approve of how Youngsta handled things, but Dolph wasn't buying it. He called Gotti out directly, saying everything was being orchestrated from the top. Looking back, It's hard to ignore that angle. Now, this is where things shift from rap beef to something much darker. February 2017, Dolph drops Play Wit Yo BTCH, and this time, no subliminals, he names Gotti directly, even uses cover art showing what looked like Gotti's baby mama calling his phone. He was poking the bear hard in the response. It wasn't just music. February 25th, 2017, Charlotte, North Carolina, Dolph's SUV gets ambushed, over 100 rounds. Fired, not exaggerating, over 100. The whole thing caught on surveillance, and the van used in the shooting traced back to a rental under Black Youngsta's name. Let that sink in. That detail came straight out during the investigation. But here's the part nobody expected. Dolph survived. Why? Because he was riding in a bulletproof vehicle. He saw it coming, and he prepared for it.
A crash and a chase there. That person was taken into custody. According to witnesses here, they don't think that person was targeted. It was just a random shooting. And here's what one witness said happened.
And what does Dolph do after surviving over 100 shots? He turns it into a statement. He drops Bulletproof just 34 days later. That alone tells you what kind of mindset he had. Fearless, or depending on how you look at it, untouchable. He even released a track called 100 Shots, flipping the entire situation into a flex that was Dolph. Then September 2017, another shooting, this time in Hollywood outside a hotel. Multiple gunshot wounds, critical condition. The initially reported Yo Gotti is a person of interest. Later, LAPD clarified Gotti wasn't a suspect, but one of his associates, Corey McClendon, was arrested, then released without charges 2 days later. Still, the streets had already drawn their own conclusions, and once again, Dolph survived 2 separate shootings in 1 year. And he kept moving, kept dropping music, still calling himself the king of Memphis. And through all of this, Key Glock, his cousin, his protege, his right hand, was watching everything unfold. Learning, building his own path under Paper Route Empire. Now let's talk about Glock for a second, because his story matters here. His real name, Markevius LaShun Cathy, born in South Memphis in 1997. And from the start, life wasn't easy. His mom went to prison when he was just 20 months old. Basically, still a baby, sentenced to 15 years. His father wasn't consistent either, so Glock was raised by his grandmother and aunt. And through that family connection, he linked up with his cousin, Young Dolph. But here's the key thing about Glock. He never leaned on Dolph for a handout. He had too much pride for reigned. That he built his own grind first. Dolph just recognized it and brought him into Paper Route, became his mentor, his big brother, his business partner. From there, Glock took off. Glock season in 2017 got attention. Then came the joint projects Dumb and Dumber in 2019, which really made noise. They even toured Europe, linking with UK rapper Blade Brown in cities like Manchester and London. Then Yellow Tape dropped in 2020, debuted at number 14 on Billboard 200. Eventually went gold. Yellow Tape 2, even bigger, number 7. Ambition for Cash went multi-platinum. His mixtape Son of a Gun, 0 features that became his signature. No guests, just Glock. He was becoming a star on his own terms, fully independent, fully Memphis, and musically he was rooted in the city's legacy. 3-6 Mafia, Project Pat, Gucci Mane, and Lil Wayne. He even said Project Pat was like the Drake of Memphis. So while all this growth was happening, the tension between CMG and Paper Route never really disappeared. It stayed in the background, quiet, but real subliminals. Dropped shots taken, lines drawn, and Glock. He wasn't ducking anything when Black Youngsta dropped. I met Tay Keith first, a subtle jab. Since Glock and Tay Keith went to school together, Glock immediately called it out. No hesitation. He stood on everything for Paper Route, and then everything changed. November 17th, 2021, Young Dolph walks Makeda's homemade butter cookies in Memphis, just grabbing cookies before his annual Thanksgiving giveaway. 2 men walk in open fire. 22 shots hit him broad daylight in his own city. He didn't make it, and when Key Glock found out, he was live on Instagram. You could see it hit him in real time. He stopped mid-sentence, cut the stream, went silent, then disappeared, completely deleted everything. He deleted his Instagram, left Memphis, and went completely ghost. The pain he was carrying. Most people can't even begin to understand it. He lost his cousin, his mentor, his brother, the one person who believed in him when nobody else did. Later on, images came out of Glock at Young Dolph's celebration of life and fam. You could see it in his face that pain was real. It was heavy. It was eating him alive. And it didn't stop there. Around that same time, he lost multiple family members too. His father, his aunt, his grandmother. It felt like everything was crashing down at once. But here's what people don't always talk about. Grief doesn't just stay grief. Sometimes it transforms. It turns into drive. It turns into anger. And for Key Glock, it turned into both. Now this is where people started putting the pieces together and what came out of it. It was disturbing. The 2 shooters were identified: Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson, also known as Straight Drop. They were arrested in 2024. Johnson was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life. But the question everybody kept asking was simple: who called the hit? That's when Hernandez Govan entered the picture. Prosecutors charged him with first-degree murder and conspiracy, claiming he was the one who organized everything. And during that trial, the testimony was wild. Cornelius Smith got on the stand and said that Yo Gotti's brother Anthony, a big jook Mims, had placed bounties on multiple paper route members, real money on people's heads. We're talking $100 zero on Young Dolph, $50 zero on Key Glock, $50 zero on PR Woo, $20 zero on Snoopy Bands, $5 zero on Mookai Grape. That's not just rap beef. That's a hit list, according to prosecutors. Govan connected Smith. Johnson to Big Jook told them Dolph would be in Memphis for the Thanksgiving giveaway. Even allegedly helped supply the weapons. Phone records showed dozens of calls between all of them leading up to the murder. The prosecution laid it out like a coordinated plan tied back to the CMG circle. But then everything flipped after just about 3 hours of deliberation in August 2025. The jury came back with a verdict: Hernandez Govan not guilty on all charges. He walked. His defense painted Smith as a liar, trying to reduce his sentence. They argued there was no physical evidence, no DNA, nothing directly linking Govan to the crime outside of testimony, and the jury agreed. When that verdict dropped, Key Glock went to social media and posted something that said it all. "My city failed, but what's new?" He deleted it, but by then it was already everywhere. The frustration, you could feel it. Dolph's family was said to be devastated. The prosecutor even admitted the disappointment was overwhelming. They didn't blame the legal team, but the outcome still hit hard in that moment right there. That became fuel for everything Glock has done since, because look at it from his side. His cousin is gone. The man accused of setting it up walks free. The alleged money trail leads back to his rival's inner circle, and nobody from that side ever publicly addresses it. You got silent, never spoke on Big Jook's alleged role, never addressed the bounty claims, just nothing. Now, if you think that's where it ends, it's not, because before that trial even played out, something else happened. January 13th, 2024, Saturday afternoon, Anthony, a Big Jook, Mims, Gotti's brother, was at a repast after a funeral at Perignon restaurant in Memphis around 4:15 p.m. Gunmen opened fire. He was hit multiple times and later pronounced dead. And here's the eerie part: it happened not far from where Dolph was killed. Same area, same broad daylight energy. The streets instantly started talking. Was it retaliation? Nobody knew for sure, but speculation went crazy. Police released surveillance images of a white Ford Explorer believed to be involved. But even now, over 2 years later, no arrests, no charges. Big Jook's final Instagram post: it hit different after everything he talked about, staying alert, watching your back, staying alive, posted that Friday gone by. Saturday after his funeral, security in Memphis was on another level. Snipers on rooftops, helicopters in the air, heavy police presence everywhere. It didn't even feel like a funeral, it felt like a lockdown. And when Yo Gotti showed up to the 2025 BET Awards, reports said his security looked like a full presidential convoy, multiple cars, armed protection. It was serious. So now you see the full picture, you see the history, you see the losses, you see the legal battles, and now you understand why when Key Glock said Yo Gotti isn't welcome in Memphis anymore. Hit different because that wasn't just talk, that was years of weight behind one statement. Now here's what's happening today. Key Glock isn't that same grieving kid anymore. He came back stronger, dropped Proud as a tribute to Dolph. It landed on the Billboard Hot 100, released Glaucoma 2. Then in 2025 signed a deal with Republic Records, his first major partnership while still holding Paper Route down. Then came Glocavely 18 tracks. Zero features debuted at number 8 on Billboard 200, moved 34 zero units first week, over 37 million streams. He went on a 21-city tour, sold out shows across the country, and by early 2026, already back in the studio, next album done. Key Glock didn't just survive this war, he's winning in it more. Importantly, he's carrying Young Dolph's legacy every single day, running Paper Route, keeping Dolph's name alive through music, through moves, through culture. Glocavely had production from Tay Keith, DJ Paul of 3-6 Mafia, and bandplay, bringing that heavy Memphis sound front and center. Even the title itself was a nod to Tupac's Mechagira, reinvention, resilience, rebellion. Glock even told Wonderland magazine his message with the project was simple, highly respected. That's it, let the music speak. And by March 2026, he was already previewing new music online. He's not slowing down, and the message to Yo Gotti It's loud and clear. You might have the Empire, you might have CMG, you might have big names on your roster, but Memphis, the heart of it, that belongs to Paper Route now, and Gotti's reaction, or lack of one, makes it even louder. Even Big Boogie, one of his own artists, came out in early 2026 and said he's staying neutral, told Cam Newton straight up. He's not getting involved. He's focused on being a CEO, not picking sides. When your artist steps back like that, it says a lot. So where does Yo Gotti stand? Here's the real truth. He's been completely silent through all of it. No public comments on Big Jook, no response to the trial testimony, no words about the hit list, no engagement with Glock or pre-nothing, and in Memphis, silence speaks loud. Some people say it's smart, protect the business, avoid risks, stay focused on the empire, and from a business angle, that makes sense. He's got too much to lose, but in the streets, silence looks like something else. And when someone publicly says you're not welcome in your own city, and you don't respond, people notice that. That's the irony in all this. Yo Gotti built his name as the King of Memphis, built CMG off that identity. Now the next generation, led by his biggest protege, is saying the crown's not his anymore, and he's not saying a word. Meanwhile, Key Glock is leveling up, touring, charting, building, moving different. Even reports of his crew being caught with loaded weapons at Governor's Ball in 2025 show how serious he takes security. And when you've allegedly a price on your head, you move accordingly. Simple. So zooming out, this isn't just about two rappers. This is Memphis. This is culture. This is what happens when rap beef becomes real-life consequences. The city has lost too much Dolph, Big Jook, others tied to both sides in the divide. It's deeper than music. When Glorilla signed to CMG, people brought up old posts of her supporting Dolph, and the backlash was instant. That's how serious loyalty runs out there. Even the justice system hasn't brought closure. Johnson got life, but Govan walked. Cornelius Smith still hasn't gone to trial. Big Jook's case still unsolved, and the bigger question still unanswered. One suspect even claimed CMG paid for his lawyer. If that's true, that raises even more questions. So when Key Glock says Yo Gotti isn't welcome, it's bigger than words. It's a generational shift. It's Paper Route saying they're still here, and it's a reminder that in Memphis, loyalty, life or death. So what happens next? Does Gotti respond? Does he try to reclaim his place? Or does he stay focused on business and leave the streets behind? Because right now it feels like Glock already made his move, and here's the part that really sticks with you. Back in 2014, Young Dolph said no to Yo Gotti. That one decision led to everything that followed: diss tracks, shootings, deaths, trials, and now a shift in power. One decision over a decade of consequences, and it's still not over. So what do y'all think? Was Key Glock right to draw that line? Can Yo Gotti ever come back the same way? And when does this cycle finally end? Because right now it feels like Memphis rap isn't about who's the best, it's about who survives the longest, and that's not what hip-hop was meant to be. But one thing's for sure, what Key Glock is doing is powerful. He turned pain into purpose. He's carrying Paper Route forward. He's proving independence. Still matters. Gotti may have the money, the deals, the placements, but Glock, he's got the streets, he's got the loyalty, he's got Memphis. Drop your thoughts below, and if this story hit you like it, hit me, tap in. We breaking it all down. No filter long. Live Dolph, Paper Route, forever root.